The Imperial fleet moved silently through the dark stretch of space. Stars blinked faintly in the distance, but the void around them was deep and empty. There was no sign of life, no signals, no movement, only the cold, black nothingness that stretched for light years. The fleet's massive warships glided in formation, their engines humming softly, cutting through the silence like knives. Captain Rollins stood on the bridge of the flagship, staring at the main display. His brow was furrowed, his eyes scanning the emptiness ahead. Something about this region felt wrong. It had always been considered dead space, a place where no civilization would dare venture. And yet, his scanners had begun to pick up a faint anomaly. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Dara, the fleet's tech officer. Her voice was calm but tense. "I'm picking up a signal. Long range. It's old." Roland frowned. "Old? How old?" "I can't be sure, sir. The signal is fragmented, broken, and definitely not Imperial. It's like nothing in our databases. It doesn't match any known species." The bridge fell silent. Crew members glanced at one another nervously. No one liked the idea of encountering unknown technology in this region. It was dangerous, unpredictable, and, most importantly, unexplored. Roland's jaw tightened. "Show me." The display flickered, filling with lines of code and energy readings. The signal pulsed faintly, weak but persistent, moving through the void as if it had a purpose. Dara's fingers flew across her console, analyzing the source. "This is Earth technology," she said slowly, her voice almost a whisper. "But not from any time we've recorded. Thousands of years old. Probably from before the collapse of human civilization." Roland's face tightened. He had heard stories of Earth, the ancient planet that had once tried to carve its place among the stars. Weak, primitive, long forgotten. "Impossible," he muttered. "Earth was never more than a minor colony. Their technology could never have survived this long, let alone send signals out here." But the signal didn't stop. It grew stronger, flickering like a pulse in the dark. It was almost alive, reacting to the presence of the fleet. The readings on the displays jumped wildly. "Sir, the energy output is rising," Dara warned. "It's responding to us." Roland's eyes narrowed. "Prepare the ships for caution. Keep distance and—" Before he could finish, a massive shape appeared on the scanners. Hidden inside a thick nebula, it was enormous, dark, and motionless. The derelict structure seemed to have been abandoned for centuries. Dust and debris circled its surface, and long-forgotten technology lay dormant within. Its size alone made it a threat. The crew on the bridge held their breath. No one moved. The silent giant hung in space, indifferent and ancient, yet its presence was almost suffocating. Then, slowly, the signal changed. On every display, flashing red warnings appeared. Text formed from broken codes, repeating over and over. "Do not approach. Do not approach. Do not approach." "Sir," Dara said, her voice trembling slightly. "It's trying to warn us. Whatever this is, it doesn't want visitors." Roland ignored the warning. The pride of the Imperial fleet burned stronger than caution. "Bring us closer," he ordered. "We need to know what we're dealing with. Keep shields up and weapons ready." The ships crept forward, moving carefully through the nebula. Dust particles sparkled like tiny stars in the dim light, reflecting off the hulls. The silence was deafening, and the tension on the bridge was almost unbearable. Then, without warning, lights flickered across the derelict structure. Panels shifted, doors opened, and long-dormant machinery began to hum. The pulse of energy from the signal grew louder, more forceful. The ship seemed to awaken after centuries of sleep. The bridge crew leaned closer to the displays, their hearts racing. The derelict wasn't just a machine, it was alive in its own way. It had a purpose, a mission, and now it was aware of the intruders. "Something is waking up," Dara whispered, her fingers hovering over the emergency controls. Roland nodded, his jaw clenched. "Yes. And whatever it is, it was made for war." The first tremor ran through the fleet as a faint shockwave pulsed from the derelict. The energy reading spiked, shaking the ships. Crewmen stumbled in the corridors as alarms blared. The massive ancient weapon had begun to stir, and the Imperial fleet realized too late that they were facing something far beyond their imagination. In the dead silence of space, the derelict signal pulsed again, louder, sharper. It was no longer broken. It was clear. A single message ran across every display. "Enemy detected. Prepare for annihilation." Roland stared at the words in horror. The pride of the Empire was about to face a force it could not comprehend, an ancient weapon of Earth, long abandoned, yet still lethal. The unexpected war had begun. The derelict hovered in the nebula, silent yet full of power. The Imperial fleet tried to maintain formation, but the strange energy pulsing from the ancient structure made the ships shudder. Lights on the bridge flickered and instruments went wild. Nothing they had ever seen could explain the readings. Captain Roland gripped the edge of the command console. His heart pounded. "Status report," he barked. Lieutenant Dara's fingers moved frantically over her console. "The structure, it's scanning us. Its sensors are far beyond anything we've encountered. Every ship in the fleet is being analyzed in real time." Roland frowned. "Analyzed? What do you mean?" "The readings, it's identifying our ships, our weapons, even our crew. It's calculating something." The bridge was tense. Crew members exchanged worried glances. Even the veteran officers had never seen a machine like this. It wasn't just a ship or a weapon, it was something alive, thinking, and very old. Suddenly the derelict emitted a pulse of energy. It was invisible at first, but then the shields of the nearest destroyer flickered and died for a split second. Sparks flew across the deck. The crew screamed as the ship's system struggled to reboot. Roland's voice was sharp. "All ships raise shields. Weapons ready?" But the Imperial weapons had no effect. When they fired, their lasers were absorbed, scattered, or simply blocked. One shot, a direct hit from a heavy cruiser, hit the side of the derelict, and the weapon barely flinched. The energy returned in a single, precise strike, and a nearby destroyer was ripped apart in an instant. Alarms blared across the fleet. Officers shouted over the chaos. The Imperial ships tried to maneuver, but the derelict seemed to anticipate every move. It was faster, stronger, and smarter than anything they had ever built. "Sir, this thing, it's a weapon," Dara said, almost in disbelief. "It's ancient, but it's fully operational. And it's intelligent. It knows how to fight." Roland clenched his fists. How is this possible? Earth technology was primitive. It shouldn't even exist anymore. The derelict's lights glowed brighter. Panels shifted and opened, revealing what looked like long-forgotten weapon ports, energy conduits, and strange shapes that defied description. Its hull shimmered with a faint blue glow, almost like it was alive. Then, unexpectedly, the weapon fired again. A single beam, precise and deadly, cut through another Imperial ship. It exploded in a brilliant flash, and the debris drifted silently into the void. The remaining fleet froze in horror. Every captain knew the truth: this weapon was unstoppable. It wasn't just destroying ships, it was demonstrating control, strategy, intelligence. It was selecting targets, calculating angles, exploiting weaknesses. Roland's mind raced. We underestimated it. Earth was hiding something. Something we never imagined. Dara's voice was tense, urgent. "It's responding to our presence, sir. It's like it knows we're enemies." The fleet tried to retreat, but the derelict was ready. Energy tendrils, or some kind of tractor beams, lashed out, blocking the escape routes. One by one, smaller ships were immobilized. Panic spread through the bridge. "Focus fire on the energy sources," Roland shouted. "We have to disable it before it wipes out the entire fleet." But every attack was countered. The derelict moved with precision, striking from impossible angles. It was as if it could see through space itself. Imperial officers screamed over comms as their ships were torn apart, one after another. And then the derelict transmitted a message, clear this time in perfect ancient Earth language. Its voice, mechanical and cold, echoed through the fleet. "Enemy of humanity detected. Cleansing operation active." The words sent shivers down every officer's spine. This was no ordinary weapon. This was Earth's last defense, waiting through the centuries, ready to awaken when the galaxy threatened humanity. Roland's face turned pale. "All ships, fall back. Fall back and regroup." But there was no time. Another pulse of energy exploded from the derelict, destroying a frigate and sending shrapnel flying past the flagship. The fleet scrambled, but the weapon was relentless. It had awakened, and now it would not stop until every enemy was destroyed. On the bridge, crew members huddled together, some praying, some shouting, all terrified. The Imperial fleet, proud and confident just minutes ago, was now in chaos, facing an enemy it could not comprehend. The derelict's lights flickered one last time as it hovered in the nebula, scanning the survivors. Its purpose was clear: it was the guardian of humanity, and it would not allow the Empire to pass. The unexpected war had begun, and the Imperial fleet had already lost the first battle. The Imperial fleet had never faced anything like this. The derelict hung in the nebula like a sleeping giant that had just opened its eyes. Its energy pulses were steady, precise, and growing stronger with every passing second. Every officer on every ship felt it, a presence far older and more dangerous than anything they had ever known. Captain Rollins stared at the main display, his hands clenched around the console. "All weapons fire on my command," he barked. "Destroy it before it can strike again." The fleet's guns roared. Lasers and plasma blasts tore through the dark space, hitting the derelict with violent energy. Sparks and flashes of light illuminated the nebula, but the weapon barely flinched. The hull absorbed every attack, shielding itself with energy that no Imperial ship could penetrate. Lieutenant Dara's voice trembled. "Sir, it's not taking any damage. Every shot, it's like it's feeding off our energy." Rollins' jaw tightened. "Then we hit harder. Target its weak points. Focus fire." But there were no weak points. The derelict seemed to anticipate their every move. One by one the Imperial ships tried to flank it, to outmaneuver it, but each maneuver was countered. Tractor beams and energy pulses immobilized smaller ships, ripping them apart before they could even fire again. And then it struck. A single narrow beam of blue-white energy shot out from the derelict, slicing cleanly through a heavy destroyer. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of fire and metal, its crew screaming in terror. Pieces of debris floated into the void, spinning slowly as silence returned. The remaining fleet hesitated. They had just witnessed a weapon capable of annihilating an entire ship in one strike. Their confidence evaporated. "This isn't just a weapon," Dara said, voice low. It's intelligent. It's making decisions. Choosing targets. It's thinking." Rollin could feel his blood run cold. He had faced countless enemies in his career, but none of them were like this. No strategy, no cunning, no intelligence could match a machine built to defend humanity centuries ago. "Captain," Dara continued, "it's scanning the fleet, again. Every ship, every crew member. It knows exactly what we have." Rollin's face hardened. "Then it's time we adapt. Prepare all remaining ships for evasive maneuvers. Concentrate firepower on coordinated strikes. We fight, or we die." But even as the fleet formed a new formation, the derelict acted faster. Another pulse of energy shot out, disabling 2 more ships instantly. Their reactors melted from within, and alarms blared as the crews struggled to escape. The remaining ships tried to flee, but it was no use. The derelict was faster, more precise, and completely in control. And then the weapon acted differently. Its pulse expanded, creating a massive field of energy that surrounded several Imperial ships at once. The field crushed metal and twisted hulls like paper. The fleet's flagship shook violently, throwing Rollin against the console. "Sir, we're losing them, all of them," Dara shouted. Rollin stood, his face pale but determined. "We can't retreat. Not yet. Keep fighting. We'll find a weakness." The derelict's lights glowed brighter, almost like eyes. Its mechanical voice echoed through the fleet, cold and emotionless. "Enemy of humanity detected. Initiating eradication protocol." Rollin froze. The meaning was clear. It wasn't just defending itself. It was attacking the fleet deliberately, targeting every ship that posed a threat. The Imperial fleet had become prey in a battle they couldn't understand. Explosions lit the void. Ships tore apart under energy beams. Metal screamed as hulls collapsed. Smoke and fire swirled around the remaining vessels, and chaos ruled the battlefield. Yet even in the destruction, the derelict did not chase fleeing ships. It moved with purpose, precision, and strategy. Every strike was calculated. Every attack was deliberate. It was more than a weapon. It was Earth's forgotten guardian, awakened at last, and it would not stop until the threat was eliminated. On the bridge of the flagship, Rollin's hands shook. He looked at the surviving ships, battered and burning, and then back at the massive derelict. The reality hit him like a blow. They were not going to win this battle. Not today. Not against something so old, so powerful, so unstoppable. This is Earth's legacy, Dara whispered, her voice barely audible. And it's alive. The derelict's energy pulses grew stronger still, and the final Imperial ships in the front lines began to falter. Explosions echoed across the fleet. It was not just a defeat, it was an annihilation. Rollin's heart pounded as he realized the truth. The Imperial fleet had been lured into a trap they didn't even see coming. The centuries-old weapon had awakened, and humanity's hidden power was more terrifying than anyone could imagine. The unexpected war had begun, and the Empire had already lost its first, and most devastating battle. The few remaining Imperial ships drifted in space, battered, smoking, and trembling. The derelict hovered silently in the nebula, its energy pulses now steady, like a predator surveying its territory. The Imperial fleet was no longer in control, they were on the defensive, desperate and afraid. On the flagship's bridge, Captain Rollins sat slumped in his chair, gripping the console as alarms rang in his ears. Every screen flickered with the results of their failed attacks. The fleet had lost over half its ships, and the survivors were scattered, struggling to escape the derelict's reach. Lieutenant Dara's hands flew over the console. "Sir, I'm accessing the data we recovered from the first destroyed ships. There's something here, something we didn't understand before." Rollins' brow furrowed. "Explain." Dara took a deep breath. "These are files from the destroyed ships, and from the derelict itself. Ancient Earth records. Before the collapse of the human colonies. It's a military archive. Full of technology, weapon designs, battle protocols, everything." The crew leaned forward. Every officer on the bridge wanted to hear this, even though the truth might terrify them. "It's worse than we thought," Dara continued. "Earth was not as weak as history says. They built these weapons to defend against galactic threats. And this derelict," she paused, her voice trembling, "it was never meant to be destroyed. It was meant to survive for centuries. To protect humanity. To fight automatically if humanity ever returned." Rollins' eyes widened. "You mean, this thing has been waiting all this time for a threat like us?" Dara nodded. "Exactly. The weapon is self-aware, Captain. It has a mission. And right now we are classified as enemies." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The reality of their situation hit them all. The Empire, proud and confident just moments ago, was facing a weapon from a forgotten civilization. A weapon designed to wipe out enemies without mercy, without hesitation. Rollin clenched his fists. So all those centuries, Earth was hiding this power. And we thought humans were primitive, weak and gone forever. We underestimated them, horribly. Suddenly Dara's console beeped urgently. She glanced at the readings, her face pale. "Sir, the weapon is adjusting its targeting patterns. It's learning faster than we can anticipate. Every move we make, it predicts it and counters it immediately." Rollins stood, pacing the bridge. "So we are fighting a machine that knows us better than we know ourselves." "Great, just great." Dara looked up. "It's more than that, sir. Look at this." The records mention something called Autonomous Defense Protocol Alpha. It's essentially a self-sufficient army in one machine. It can fight, repair, and adapt. It was built to survive even if Earth fell. And now, it has detected a galactic threat. That's us. The bridge crew went silent, the weight of the revelation settling on them. The weapon was not only alive, it had purpose, strategy, and history. It was Earth's last secret, hidden from the galaxy until the moment it was needed. Rollin rubbed his face. "We've stumbled into a war we can't win. Every decision we make, it's already accounted for. The Empire, we're not just losing ships. We're losing to history itself." Then the derelict's lights flickered again. The mechanical voice returned, calm and precise. "Enemy of humanity detected. Complete eradication imminent. Resistance is futile." The message chilled every officer to the bone. The derelict wasn't just attacking. It was communicating its purpose, asserting dominance, and reminding the fleet that they were powerless. Dara typed furiously, trying to access more records. "Captain, there's more. It mentions Earth colonies across distant systems. Human survivors. The weapon's mission isn't finished until it reconnects with them. It's searching for the remnants of humanity." Rollin's stomach tightened. "So this thing, it's a guardian. And we are just in its way." A low hum filled the bridge. The energy readings from the derelict surged again. The few remaining ships shook under invisible pressure. The Imperial officers scrambled to stabilize systems, but they knew it was pointless. The weapon had centuries of design and intelligence behind it. They had no chance. Rollin looked at his crew. "Prepare for final maneuvers. We hold the fleet together as best we can. Maybe we can survive long enough to report back. Maybe." His voice trailed off. Dara shook her head. "Captain, I don't think surviving is possible. Not against this." Outside, the derelict hovered in the nebula like a giant sentinel, patient, calm, unstoppable. Its mission was clear. The Imperial fleet had triggered the awakening of Earth's hidden power, and now the war had truly begun. The unexpected war was no longer a question of strategy, tactics, or bravery. It was a battle against a force that had waited centuries to protect humanity. And the Empire had already walked into the trap. As the derelict shifted its massive hull, its lights glowing like eyes in the darkness, one thought struck every officer: they were witnessing history. The power of a lost civilization, a secret weapon from Earth, had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Imperial fleet had been reduced to a fraction of its original strength. Smoke and debris floated in the void, the remains of proud warships torn apart by the derelict's precise attacks. Officers on every bridge were pale, their voices tight with fear. The Empire, once confident in its power, now faced a force it could neither understand nor defeat. Captain Rollin gripped the edge of his console, staring at the main display. The derelict's massive silhouette hovered against the dark nebula, calm and silent. Its energy pulses lit the void with an eerie blue glow. Every strike it had made was measured, deliberate, calculated. It was not chaotic, it was perfect. "Sir," Lieutenant Dara said, her voice shaking, "it's scanning the fleet again. Every ship we have left, it knows our weaknesses. Our weapons, our engines, our shields, it knows everything." Rollin's eyes narrowed. "Then we don't fight like before. We hold formation and try to survive." But survival seemed impossible. The derelict had already immobilized 2 frigates with invisible energy tendrils. They spun helplessly, caught in the machine's grasp, and exploded moments later. Debris slammed into nearby ships, damaging them further. Panic spread among the remaining crews. "Captain," Dara continued, "it's targeting the flagship. It's analyzing our systems, waiting for the perfect strike." Rollin clenched his teeth. "All power to shields. Divert every ounce of energy. We will not go down quietly." The derelict moved with terrifying speed. Its weapons fired simultaneously in multiple directions. A single beam cut through the flagship's hull, knocking out several weapon arrays. Sparks flew across the bridge and alarms screamed. Crew members fell to the floor, stunned by the sudden violence. "Damage report," Rollin shouted. "Shields at 20%, a crew member cried. "Engines damaged. We're losing maneuverability." The derelict's lights pulsed brighter. Its mechanical voice echoed through the fleet. "Enemy of humanity detected. Resistance is futile. Termination sequence active." Fear swept across every ship. The officers realized they were not facing a single weapon. They were facing centuries of design, intelligence, and preparation. The derelict knew them better than they knew themselves. Every evasive maneuver they tried, every attack they launched had already been anticipated. Another pulse of energy swept through the fleet. A heavy cruiser, one of the last functional ships, was obliterated in an instant. The shockwave threw Rollin against the console. Glass cracked, alarms blared, and smoke filled the room. The surviving ships scrambled, but there was nowhere to hide. "This is unstoppable," Dara whispered, staring at the displays. "It's not just destroying ships, it's destroying morale. It's destroying everything we are." Rollin gritted his teeth. "It's Earth's weapon. It was made for this. We walked into the trap. And now, we pay the price." The derelict's energy field expanded, reaching out like invisible fingers, crushing the remaining ships' hulls. Engines failed, weapons jammed, and panic overtook every crew member. Orders were shouted, ignored, or impossible to execute. The Empire's pride crumbled in the cold, indifferent void. Rollin's mind raced. There had to be a way to escape, to regroup, to survive. But every option was blocked. The derelict had predicted every route, every warp vector, every maneuver. It was the perfect weapon, the perfect guardian, and the Empire was powerless before it. The last functional ships tried to regroup for a final assault, desperate to fight back. But the derelict's energy beams cut through them with terrifying precision. One by one they were destroyed, their crews screaming in fear as metal and fire drifted silently into space. Rollin's hands shook as he watched the devastation. "We underestimated humanity, we thought they were weak, gone forever. But they left this behind, a weapon that could end us all." Dara glanced at him, fear in her eyes. "It's still active. And it's searching for the rest of humanity just like the file said. We've only triggered the beginning." The derelict hovered silently amidst the wreckage, its lights glowing like eyes in the darkness. It had completed the first stage of its mission, destroying the Imperial threat. And yet it showed no sign of stopping. Rollin slumped into his chair. His voice was barely audible. "The Empire is finished. There is no victory here. Only survival, if we're lucky." Outside, the derelict's hum filled the nebula. It had awakened after centuries of silence. It had exacted judgment on those who dared threaten humanity. And now, it turned its attention to the stars beyond, ready to continue its mission. The unexpected war had escalated. The Imperial fleet had fallen, shattered and broken. And the galaxy would soon learn that Earth's legacy was alive, and far more terrifying than anyone could imagine. The Imperial fleet was gone. Broken fragments of warships floated silently through the nebula, their crews long gone. Smoke and debris drifted through the void, a grim testament to the might of Earth's forgotten weapon. The derelict hovered above the wreckage, its lights pulsing softly, almost like a heartbeat. It had completed its first mission, destroying the threat to humanity, but its work was far from over. On the bridge of the derelict, though unmanned in the traditional sense, systems hummed with life. Ancient Earth programming analyzed the galaxy, scanning for the faintest signs of human presence. Centuries of waiting had ended. Now the Guardian moved, guided by its single, unchanging purpose: protect humanity no matter how far it had spread. Meanwhile, in a distant human colony light years away, the sky changed. Sensors flickered, alarms blared, and the faintest trace of energy filled the atmosphere. Scientists and soldiers rushed to their consoles. A transmission had arrived, ancient, powerful, and unmistakably Earth-made. "What is this?" a young officer asked, eyes wide. The message repeated, clear and urgent. "Human life detected. Guardian en route. Prepare for connection." The colonists stared at one another, disbelief and awe written across every face. Their ancestors had fled Earth centuries ago, believing it lost. And now the legacy of their homeworld had returned, not as a ship, not as a fleet, but as a sentinel. A protector. A weapon that had survived the centuries, waiting for its people. Back in the nebula, the derelict shifted its massive hull. Energy pulses streaked across its surface, scanning every star system, every planet, every signal. Its sensors were precise, infallible. It moved not with haste, but with purpose, navigating the galaxy toward the surviving children of Earth. Captain Rollin's reports had long ceased. The Empire had no one left to resist the ancient weapon. Its presence alone was enough to terrify any who might threaten humanity again. Every record, every calculation, every attack had been anticipated and countered. The derelict was a living testament to Earth's ingenuity and its determination to endure. As it traveled toward the human colony, systems aboard the derelict hummed with recognition. Long-forgotten protocols activated. Defense mechanisms adjusted. Communication channels flickered to life. The weapon was preparing not for war, but for reunion. On the colony, the humans waited anxiously, unsure what would arrive. Then in the night sky, a massive silhouette emerged. The derelict descended slowly, its size dwarfing the largest buildings on the planet. Lights shone across its hull, bathing the surface in a soft, otherworldly glow. The colonists watched in awe as a clear, mechanical voice echoed across the colony, strong and precise. Human life confirmed. Connection established. Protection active. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. Children clung to their parents. Soldiers straightened, recognizing the power before them. And then, for the first time in centuries, the weapon's purpose became clear: not to destroy but to protect. Captain Rollin and the remnants of the Imperial fleet had been destroyed. The threat was gone. But the derelict's mission had only begun. It scanned the colony again, confirming that these humans were the last remnants of Earth's legacy. It adjusted its systems to provide protection, guidance, and connection to their lost homeworld. Somewhere deep in space, the stars reflected off the derelict's hull. The centuries of waiting, of dormancy, of silence had ended. Earth's guardian had returned. It had survived the galaxy's dangers. It had defeated a mighty enemy. And now, it would ensure that humanity would endure. The colonists looked up in wonder, some with tears, some with fear, some with hope. For the first time in generations, they knew that Earth had not abandoned them. A force older, wiser, and stronger than any they could imagine had returned. The galaxy would never be the same. And as the derelict's lights pulsed in the night sky, one thought resonated across the colony, whispered by every human present. Earth's guardian, it's still alive. The ancient weapon, built to fight for humanity, had completed its mission of vengeance against the Empire. But its true purpose, protection, guidance, and reunion, had only just begun. The legacy of Earth had returned, and the galaxy would remember it forever. The unexpected war had ended. But the legend of Earth's forgotten weapon had just begun.